This is The Instigators, presented by Seneca Resorts and Casinos. Nothing else comes close.
We are going to overtime!
Yes, another doggy bag edition of Instigators Overtime for our friends at Seneca Resorts and Casinos. Marty, so much to get to, and I honestly don't know where to start, but to keep it connected to the Sabres, I do want to dive in on the Amerks just briefly here, and the fact that they're going to sit here and wait until Friday's final game of the season and wonder if they will still have a chance, because Toronto plays twice, Wednesday, Thursday against Laval, before the Amerks take to the ice against Utica. They have, by virtue of losing 3 straight over the weekend, let their controlled destiny slip away. However, if Toronto loses both to Laval, the door is still open for the Amerks to make it. What are you feeling personally? What are you feeling if you're an Amerk at this point in time?
So remember the movie Dumb and Dumber, when Jim Carrey goes to Mary Swanson and he says,
that's a short list of names for the show, just so you know.
Okay, Dumb and Dumber would be a great show name, but I think it's probably trademarked and copyright. But anyway, I will say this. He says, so you're saying there's a chance, right? What's that 1 in a million chances all about? Like that's what I'm saying, is that the chance of the Amerks getting to the playoffs are slim. And we're not going to just sugarcoat it. They are slim. They would have to win, and would have to hope that Toronto doesn't get more than 3 of their last 6 points, which it's possible, but they're very slim. So I'm crossing my fingers. I'm lighting up a candle. I'm doing all of it, but they're very slim right now.
And I want to say this, and I don't want it to come across as someone speaking from a position of on high or arrogance or anything to that nature. But I do want to stress that I probably spend an inordinate amount of time watching the Amerks compared to most who are covering the game. And we can all respectfully disagree. I understand that. I think some people have been unnecessarily supportive of the Amerks goaltending when it's actually been fair to be critical of it this year. And I don't know where any criticism of the coaching staff would come into play at this point in time, when you consider the reality of the situation, which is the players play the game, and in their most important weekend of the season, scoring droughts either continued or emerged for literally every top player on the team. Yeah. Marty, I have not seen an Amerks team produce more chances and unreal. Like if you talk definition of a high danger chance, you're never going to see a game in the AHL with more high danger chances than the Amerks had on Saturday. And it basically produced nothing. So allow me to do this. Paterk, and this is not a criticism of these players. This is a reality check based on what they have done previously. And none of this lines up with what they've done previously. Paterka, 2 points in 7. And I thought he was amazing on Saturday. Yeah. Quinn, 3 points in the last 6. Mersch, 2 points in the last 6. Ruotsalainen, 1 point in the last 5. Biron, 1 point in the last 5. Weisbach, no points in the last 6. Murray, no goals in the last 20 games and no points in the last 7. McInnes, no points in 6. Jankowski, no points in 3. That is all of your top players. I'm sorry, but if they all go quiet at the exact same time, you will not likely win a game. It's not goaltending. It's not coaching. It was on the top 9, and it didn't happen. And you know what? Go back to every NHL playoff surprise result and go, how come Ovi and Backstrom didn't score? How come this and this didn't score? How come it happens?
Matthews, Marner with the Toronto Maple Leafs the last 5 years.
It happens. It sucks when it happens, but don't go looking for a story that doesn't exist. They dried up, and
you have to also give credit to the Cleveland goaltenders who were really
Cam
good.
Johnson had a career game on Saturday. Ridiculous.
And
then a guy yesterday was making
his
third appearance in the AHL ever.
He looked really good. I'm watching the highlights and following along, and he looked really good. So I got to give credit there. And yes, they dried up. And Rochester, producer Jeff asked me this morning, what if they missed the playoff? Was this, and we're not there yet, was this a successful season? Roch was in a position for most of the season where Buffalo kept calling guys up because Buffalo had injuries and they needed players. And then Rochester, with guys to Buffalo, had their own issues with COVID and players getting hurt, and Quinn had mono and all of that. And so they were getting guys left and right. Did they fail to push at the end of the year? Yes. If they don't make it, that last week and a half is going to come back and say, well, this was bad. But all season they battled, and the coaching staff, they kept plugging along and they kept pushing and they kept getting results. I just think that you're right. They're just hit a wall. And unfortunately, it hit everybody at the same time right now because, they outshot Cleveland 38-22 Sunday. They lose 2-0. 38-22, they lose 2-0. That's the reality of it.
Yeah. And the power play, which has been a strong point all season long, again, like all the players we just mentioned, it hit a dry spell and it is what it is. Anyway, fingers crossed that they can somehow have a meaningful Friday night game against Utica and get themselves into the playoff mix. But Marty, the injuries around the NHL are a really potentially big story again right now, based on what we just saw this weekend.
Well, we saw Sunday Alex Ovechkin get hurt. Now, according to Dr. TJ Oshie, after the game, he said Ovechkin looked pretty good. He didn't go in the boards that fast. Ovechkin was on a breakaway, kind of tried to go to his backhand, toe picked, went into the wall. It wasn't super fast. It wasn't one of those where you look back and you say, oh, that looked bad. It wasn't, but he put his left arm up, may have had a little bit of a left shoulder. Did it pull something? Maybe. Do I expect Ovechkin to power through when the playoffs comes around? Yes, I do. But Carolina now, all of a sudden, where they've had great goaltending all season long, lost Antti Ranta in the game yesterday. They were already without Freddie Anderson, so they don't have their two goaltenders a week from the playoffs. Both goalies are hurt. Lower body injury. We know Antti Ranta has been hurt a lot over his career, and he's battled back. You got to give him credit, but that doesn't, inspire me to, I think Ranta will be ready or 100%. Freddie Anderson last season in Toronto, we all know that he was hurt and it took a long time. Where is that going to do? So I'm worried for Carolina right now with their injuries. Colorado.
Hang on.
Oh,
with Carolina, Kochetkov got his first two games. And one was in relief, and the Canes have won 4 in a row. So in the short term, they have survived this hiccup, and we'll see. Remember, this was a team that made headlines in the middle of the season when they coaxed Jack LaFontaine out of college and signed him to a pro deal.
Yes.
So this could be really interesting. The need for goaltending, and wouldn't that be something if you had two inexperienced guys on your roster as a first place team in the Metro? This could very well happen.
And Carolina could play Boston in the first round. That is not an easy feat.
And they swept Boston. They destroyed Boston in the season series, but Freddie Anderson was a big part of it. So we'll see.
He was a big part of it. And now Boston went into Montreal yesterday, won a game 5-3. Patrice Bergeron, 2 goals. Marchand is drying out. He's not scoring, but he's Brad Marchand. Pasternak played the night before. Saturday, did not play on Sunday. He's dealing with a minor issue there as well. So Boston has their injuries themselves. I was moving on to Colorado because Colorado doesn't have Gabriel Landeskog. He's day-to-day. They don't have Mikko Rantanen. He's day-to-day. They don't have Devon Toews. He's day-to-day. Now, you were talking about Pavel Francouz. He did take a shot in the face the other day, but he was backing up last night. So he must be okay now to be able to back up. But Colorado's got some big hitters that are missing right now. Do I expect them to be in the playoffs? Yes. And Do I think they need everybody back in the first round? Probably not, but they're going to need their big guys coming back at some point.
Well, they've lost 4 in a row. So are you, you're not concerned at this point?
My only concern right now is that Darcy Kemper started slow and then gradually got so good to a point where you're like, wow, Kemper could be in the Vezina conversation. Like he's gotten to that point and now he's dropped again. Colorado is 6-4 in their last 10 and lost 4 in a row. So I'm a little bit concerned, but I would think Colorado in the first round is either going to play Dallas or Nashville. I think they I don't want to say breeze through, but I think they win the first round, even if they're missing 2 of their 3 key guys moving forward.
Now, what really?
Yeah.
You don't think, I mean, I don't know. I think Nashville, well, I guess maybe we should focus there. Do you think Nashville's going to make it now?
Yes. I told you last week, I think that the West was set. I think Vancouver and Vegas were going to miss. So again, Vegas, heartbreaking shootout loss to San Jose on Sunday night after they were up by 2 goals given up with the San Jose goalie pulled. But I think Dallas, Nashville are going to get in. Nashville battled really hard last night. They lost in overtime late.
42 saves from Big Save Dave.
Big Save Dave Riddick. I was surprised that he came in, but at the same time, they have to give UC Soros a little bit of a break. And giving him a break now may be more beneficial down the road. Like he's been overplayed. So, but I think Nashville's a great story. And they got Philip Forsberg now at 40 goals. Matt Duchene's at 40. They got their big guys producing. Yossi's dropped off a little bit, but he's still Roman Josi. I think Nashville's a good story, but I don't think that they compete with the top teams like the Minnesota, St. Louis, Colorado, Calgary. I don't see Nashville competing with those guys.
Well, I think that's the question are St. Louis and Minnesota actually more of a threat right now to come out of the West than Colorado?
I will say no, but they're making a really strong case for being that threat. Minnesota, as it stands right now, they are kind of missing on Matt Zuccarello is hurt. Marcos Foligno is hurt. Dumba is hurt. So there is some day-to-day things happening there. St. Louis to me is very healthy and they are buzzing through. They were down 2-0 after 2 shots against the Seattle, not the Seattle Kraken, the Anaheim Ducks on Sunday night. And then all of a sudden it just went boom, 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 4-2 before the end of the first period. Man, St. Louis is buzzing. If I had to pick a team right now between St. Louis and Minnesota, I think I'm going St. Louis.
And why would you do that?
Just because I know you like the Wild.
No, I've been pushing the Blues. You actually went the exact opposite. You know that.
Yeah. I just think St. Louis is Kyrie's been hot. You've got
Kyrie's not been hot. It's Thomas, who's got a 17-game point streak. Tying McDavid. And Tarasenko, all 3 of them are riding monster streaks. So
Kyrou scored last night. It was a lucky bounce. It went off the defenseman, but they're just getting bounces. They're playing really well.
Okay. The funny tweet was Jeremy Rutherford tweeting at Russo, I believe, when Russo was tweeting about a 9 or 10 game point streak for the Wild, and Rutherford goes, "Oh, that's cute. I tweeted about that a week ago because St. Louis is now on a 16 game point streak and Minnesota's at 10." So I thought that was brilliant. And honestly, the head-to-head matchups have been so good between these two. But think of that, 16 game point streak, franchise record for the Blues, and they still are not ahead of Minnesota in the standings because the Wild are on a 10 game heater of their own.
Yeah, the Wild's good. They keep rolling their 2 goaltenders in Marc-Andre Fleury and Cam Talbot. Kaprizov is looking really good. It just, the Wild.
Is this all moot because Tampa is hot?
Well, we're switching to the Eastern Conference. I think we're losing a little bit of the Wild buzz because other teams have been like, wow, like you can't stop looking. What Tampa did, beating the Leafs, scoring 8, beating Florida 8-4. I mean,
is your camera lens blurry all of a sudden?
Oh, yes, it is. Let me see.
What happened? Did a bug run into it while we were recording?
I think I spit. Sometimes you talk so
I thought I was back at the concert last night and was looking through a smoky
Well,
haze.
everything's a little foggy. See, that's why we got to be in separate room, because when I get intense, I spit, and it went right into the lens of my camera. What a shot! One in a
That was a
million
great
shot
shot.
right there.
Okay.
Tampa's hot.
Continue, please.
Tampa's hot. Stamkos, their power play. You're putting your mask on. I love it. The power play for Tampa is really hot. And that's maybe why I'm still hesitating on Tampa Bay a little bit, because you know what happens in the playoffs? Penalties go down, right? And you don't get these power plays. And you look at Tampa against Florida. I think they had 3 power play goals. Night before that, they had 2 or 3 again. Kucherov, Stamkos, they're making plays out there on the power play. So not having that power play or those power plays opportunities, I don't know that Tampa would be in the same position.
Oh boy.
I'm just hesitating on Tampa because they've let me down all year. I thought they were going to run away with that division, and then boom, they struggled a little bit.
They still have 106 points as a 2-time defending champ. I mean, I don't know how you could say they've let anybody down.
You know who's let me down? And even last night, I'm like, it's Andrei Vasilevsky in the second half.
But Marty, 106 points, like they might end up with 110, and you're going to tell me that they're a letdown somehow?
Okay, well, Washington's at 100, Boston's at 103, and they're just sneaking into the.
But we learned from Tampa's 62 win season 4 seasons ago that it doesn't guarantee success.
It doesn't. And I think what happened that season, and I remember John Cooper talking about, we did not face enough adversity in our success to be able to respond to getting swept by Columbus. I understand that. I think right now Tampa is dealing with a lot of adversity this year, maybe too much to my liking. And you look at Florida, you look at Toronto, you look at every team in the East, or Carolina Rangers. There is some tough teams out there that I think Tampa is going to run out of energy and steam at some point. I feel they're going to be tired and will go around maybe, but I don't think they go to.
Oh boy. I mean, Stamkos has been ultra consistent. Kucherov is close to 1.5 a game. Ross Colton is well over 20 goals now, and that kind of came out of nowhere because he didn't have the hottest start. Nick Paul is contributing. Brandon Hagel will contribute. And then you've still got the old familiar cast of the Palats and the Killorns of the world that are going to push this thing along. I don't know, man. They blow me away. They absolutely blow me away. But you're right. It's a coin toss. I mean, I want to think Florida's going to have a great go at it in this playoff season, but and maybe, I don't know, Brandon Montour might be the hottest defenseman in the.
Oh my God. He had the overtime game winner against Toronto the other night. He had a snipe again.
Hey,
against Lightning.
Remember when I brought up, because he's at 11 now. Remember when we were talking on Saturday in game that Dahlin had risen to 7th and D scoring at 13? Did that surprise you as much as it surprised me? I expected the defense goal scoring totals to be higher than that. Like, I'm not diminishing.
Because we talked Makar maybe getting to 30 at some point and whatnot. Yeah. And then Yossi being so hot, right?
And Hedman's over 20 and
Hedman's over 20. And there's been a lot of really, really strong deep moments in the season where it catches your eye. Dahlin does it like very much under the radar. Yeah. Like everybody talks about, Dahlin's having a great season and he's good, but his numbers are, okay, now we're going Sabres. Dahlin's numbers, most points by a Sabres defense since Gary Galley in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, that is significant. Remember over the years, we talked about Ristolainen. Hey, he's got 45 points. What a season. What a season. Tyler Myers. What a season. What a season. Brian Campbell. What a season. What a season. Dahlin has most points since Gary Galley in the early 90s. Better than all of these guys. He's really like saying, forget about all these guys. I'm here and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a real testament to how he's stuck with, his belief of himself as a player. And now he's being rewarded, as is Don Granato, for the approach that they've taken. I just want to double check one thing when it comes to the defense scoring, but so as of Monday, he's sitting in 12th in points at 53 in 78 games and the 13 goals. Is 70 points out of the question for Dahlin next year?
It's hard to get to 70. Okay. It's top 3 guys get to 70, 80 points. I think Dahlin can get to 60, 65 next year. Obviously being on the first power play. And if the power play continues to have success the way that they've had the last 2 months, he could push 70. What you're going to see out of the Sabres is their top 4D, their top 2 pairs moving forward are going to be 24 minutes a game, 23 minutes a game. And that's going to leave, what is that? That's 46. That's going to leave 14 minutes, 15 minutes at most for the third pair, right? So that's what you're going to end up seeing. So I believe Dahlin's going to be on the ice a lot. And if healthy, playing 82 games, 65 to 70, it would be my prediction for next season.
Okay. Before you lick the bowl, after we emptied out this doggy bag, is there anything else you want to talk about before we zero in on the game of the week, which is Dallas and Vegas?
Oh, anything I want to zero in on? Geez. I'm looking at my notes from last night. Just, one last time for those who didn't see it and those that did not even know that they could see it, go to my Twitter feed and rewatch the amazing pregame ceremony in Montreal for Guy Lafleur. And then go to Michael Farber's Twitter account and watch his expose on Guy Lafleur, who he doesn't sugarcoat it. He talks about how Guy was a chain smoker and had his last cigarette in 2019 before getting quadruple bypass, or was it triple or whatnot. And then months later came the lung cancer and the treatments and all of it. He doesn't sugarcoat it, but at the same time, it's just the reality of we just lost 2 legends of hockey in a week, both to lung cancer, and both were heavy smokers through their playing days and everything. So it is really a well done piece with facts to what happened, but just how Guy Lafleur was and the loved. And I heard something today that whenever the Canadians needed him for an appearance, he would show up at the Canadians office 2 hours before the appearance and just was ready to go. Like really, really like wanting to give back to the with his generosity. So go and watch those 2 videos. They are just top notch.
Do you plan to cry on Friday?
I cried when they raised his banner on April 1st. So I think crying is not even, I'll be sobbing on Friday at the end of the game. I don't know that I'll be really able to keep it together for the post game. And you and I have become, I've had emotional moments on the desk there during our pregame, postgame intermission, whatnot. I think Friday postgame will be miserable emotionally. Sorry.
But not Les Miserables, right?
It will be miserable. Absolutely.
It's RJ's last call on Friday. If you're attending the game, fear not. You can use the Mix Halo app, is it? Or go to mixhalo.com/Sabres and you can listen to RJ while you're in your seat at KeyBank Center. So I think that's a great way to indulge in the final night experience, because obviously in the arena, there's going to be the feel of RJ throughout the course of the night. So we would love for you to attend and celebrate with us on what will be the culmination of 51 years of excellence for RJ. Last one.
Can I ask you a quick question, Duffer?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Before we go to biggest game, do you think the Chicago Blackhawks would have an issue if the Sabres just pumped the Mix Halo through their sound system in the last 5 minutes of the game? I'm just saying, like, just have the play-by-play go on during the game. Last 5 minutes. What? You're going to get fined by the league for doing it? Who cares? I'll do a GoFundMe to pay the fine, whatever.
Okay. I hope that we see that. I think that would be pretty cool. Dallas, Vegas, Stars are hosting Tuesday night. Winner doesn't take all unless you're the Stars. Because in that case, Vegas is done. What happens?
Well, it'd be interesting to see who both team start and goal, right? We know the Robin Lehner saga right now, where it was reported by Emily Kaplan that he was going to get season-ending surgery, did not. Came back to back up yesterday, Sunday. Who starts on Tuesday night? I would expect Logan Thompson to start. Who starts for Dallas? Jake Ottinger, Scott Wedgwood. There's been a bit of back and forth.
Yeah.
Dallas needs that win. I suspect
Ottinger. Yeah.
I suspect Ottinger, but if Dallas wins, it is set. Vegas is out of this year's playoff race. Big game. It's in Dallas.
Yeah.
If Dallas doesn't win it, it doesn't mean that Dallas is out and Vegas is in. Vegas still has to play Chicago and St. Louis. They play back-to-back, actually Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on Friday. So the road is going to be really tough for Vegas to get in, but Dallas has a chance at home. It's like a game 7, almost feel to it.
6 for Dallas, I think.
Yeah.
It's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game 6 for Dallas with a chance to clinch at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying right now. And you know that if you don't, then you got to go out and do it later in the week.
Right. Because Dallas has Arizona and Anaheim after, but they are home here for the entirety of this week. So the Stars have that in their favor. Nashville, of course, has games against Calgary, Colorado, and Arizona, but in a preemptive strike, perhaps they should send Dallas some, Nashville hot chicken just to encourage them to get the job done in case the Predators don't win the rest of the way.
Technically, all Nashville has to do is, well, not all, but they win one game, they get to 96 points. The most Vegas could get by winning all 3 is 96. And then they'd be tied in regulation wins because it would be 36 each if Vegas was to win in regulation all 3.
Correct.
So, I mean, one win is all Nashville technically has to get.
All right. We'll see if it transpires. Thank you for indulging, as we have just done, Instigators Overtime Doggy Bag, and we'll see you soon. Thanks to our friends at Seneca Resorts and Casinos.